In this video, I'll be going over how to write DBQ number 1. This will be the first DBQ we've written this year. It'll help you for the AP exam. Just like in the LEQ, the type of DBQ that we're going to be writing is going to be a causation DBQ. In a causation essay, you're going to write about why things happen or what happens as a result. The prompt for today's DBQ is evaluate the causes of U.S. entry into World War I. The first thing you need to do when writing a DBQ is to brainstorm the time period. So reading the prompt, seeing that it's World War I, you're going to brainstorm everything you know from World War I between 1914 and 1918. Take a minute to brainstorm the time period. Okay, hopefully you have now brainstormed the time period, and here is an example of what you should probably have written down. War before U.S. involvement, you would write down Maine, militarism, alliance systems, imperialism, nationalism. You might have written something like trench warfare or the assassination of the Archduke. Hopefully you've also written down causes of U.S. involvement, maybe economic, propaganda, submarine warfare, the Zimmerman telegram, and the Russian Revolution. All right, let's do our pre-context first. Remember to look first at what the prompt is asking for. It's the causes of U.S. entry into World War I. So what causes the situation in the prompt? You're going to go ahead and ace that situation. So the best thing to do here is think about what was the cause of World War I, and that would be your pre-context. What caused the conflict that eventually will pull the United States into the Great War? So what are the causes of World War I? Think about one of those main causes and write a transition sentence after you've aced that particular cause. I've included this slide in the presentation because I wanted to kind of remind you the causes of U.S. entry into World War I that we discussed in class. So look at these causes and use this to help write your essay. Okay, the next step is you need to go and glance through the documents. Now, since you've already done your CHIP activity yesterday, you should be able to go through the documents and categorize them. You need to put them into 3 different categories. The categories are going to be trade, security, and government. Now, in this essay, I've given you the categories. Obviously, on the day of the AP exam, you'll have to come up with them on your own. You need to look at the documents and figure out which documents go together. So now I want you to go ahead and categorize the documents for the DBQ. Alright, step 3, you're going to analyze the documents. Now you've already gone through and analyzed the documents for this particular DBQ, but on the day of the AP exam, your step number 3 is you're going to go through the documents and figure out which ones you're going to use for your essay. Now for this particular essay, we're going to have you use all the documents, but in order to earn the document analysis point, you need to try and use all 4 of your document analysis elements, your historical context, intended audience, purpose, and point of view. So use these in your body paragraph. Keep in mind also you're going to use the core argument as well. Now you're probably wondering at the beginning why we brainstormed World War I. The reason why we do that is in order to come up with your evidence beyond the documents. So you're going to go through and compare your brainstorm chart at the beginning in step 1 to the different categorized documents. What topic or topics were not addressed by the documents? So I'm going to let you pause here and then I'll explain in a second. Okay, hopefully you paused the video and went back and looked, and hopefully you found that the Zimmerman telegram was your evidence beyond the documents. It was not mentioned in the documents. You're going to use that to write a separate paragraph in your DBQ. Okay, so step by step, just to kind of recap, how do you prep for the DBQ? Step 1, you brainstorm. Step 2, you categorize the documents. Step 3, you analyze the documents. And step 4, you figure out your evidence beyond the documents. If you follow this 4-step process, you should be able to do your 15-minute DBQ prep on the day of the exam. Okay, so now you're going to rank your causes by strength. So hopefully you've gone through and figured out your causes of World War I. And so A, B, and C are going to be your three different causes. Your strongest one is going to be government, so you're going to use that category of documents to write your A paragraph. Your B is going to be security. You're going to use that as your second strongest. And your weakest, or C, is going to be trade. Okay, so putting your thesis together is no different than you would in your LEQ. You're going to have your concession, or your weakest cause, and that'll be trade. Your broad topics, your government and security as your two strongest causes, and your therefore statement is going to basically restate the causes of U.S. entry into World War I. Make sure when you're doing this that you don't include specific vocabulary terms. Use general terms and try to use different terms for the A and B and the Y. Okay, here's the outline of your DBQ. It's going to be a little different than the LEQ was. The first paragraph will be the same. You'll have your pre-contextualization and your thesis statement. Your second paragraph for the DBQ is going to be your evidence beyond the documents, where you're going to ace the cause of World War I that's not included in the documents from the DBQ. Your third paragraph is going to be your strongest cause. You're going to have at least 2 aces to support your A statement. Your fourth paragraph, your second strongest, your B statement with at least 1 ace. And then your fifth paragraph, your weakest cause, your C statement with at least 1 ace in that as well. You'll finish up the document-based question with a thesis statement and a post-contextualization, and that will be the effect of World War I. Okay, so you're probably wondering, how is the document analysis going to integrate with your ACEs throughout the paper? Here's a simple explanation of how it's going to work. For answer, for your A, you're going to answer the prompt with your argument from your thesis. And that's no different than in the LEQ. The difference comes when you come to the cite and the explain. In the cite portion of your ACE, you're going to introduce the document using the author's last name or the title of the document. Do not say document 1 or according to document 2. Introduce the actual document. Then you're going to identify or describe the core argument of that particular document. The explain is you're going to explain how the core argument supports your argument, and then you're going to add another sentence that explains how the context, intended audience, purpose, or point of view is relevant to your argument. So your ACEs are going to be bigger because you're going to have 2 elements in the explain, and you're going to have an introduction of a document with explanation of the document in your cite. Okay, so your supporting paragraphs, you're going to ace these supporting paragraphs. Remember that your A statement, you're going to have at least 2 aces on governmental causes of U.S. entry into World War I. Then you're going to use at least 1 ace on security for your B statement, and then finally at least 1 ace for trade for your C statement. Here are the rules for the documents. Number 1, you must use all 7 documents. I know College Board only requires 6 out of 7. We want you to use all 7. So it's a way for you to practice. Number 2, you must use 4 chips. You must chip 4 times. You're only going to do it 3 times for College Board, but we want you to do it 4 times to get the practice. Use it in your ACEs. Okay? That goes in the explanation in the cite. You can use these documents in either your supporting or your concession. It doesn't matter, but you need to use all 7 documents. Just like in the LEQ, the post-contextualization of a DBQ is going to preview what happens next in the conclusion. This will be the end of your conclusion paragraph where you talk about what's next. So let's real quick go through step by step of the post-contextualization. You need to think about what resulted from the situation, the prompt. Remember, the prompt is about World War I, so what's going to be the result of World War I? You're going to ace that effect. Here, I want you to use the Red Scare. The red scares at the end of chapter 21 use that information to come up with an effect of World War I that impacts the red scare. The rubric is very similar to an LEQ. You get 1 point for your thesis. It must be in the introduction or the conclusion. We want you to write it in both. The second point of the DBQ rubric is contextualization. That's no different than the LEQ. The third point in a DBQ is the evidence beyond the documents. You get a point for this particular paragraph. It must be an entire paragraph and it must support the thesis. It cannot be included in the documents. The evidence points in a DBQ are a little different than the LEQ. You get 1 point for using at least 6 documents. You get 2 points if you use at least 6 documents, and then you chip at least 3 documents, doing a document analysis. The analysis and reasoning points are the same in the DBQ as they were in the LEQ. The first point, you're creating an argument addressing the prompt. That should be an easy one to get. You get 2 points if you do one of 2 things. You either rank all 3 causes or create a good effect in the post-contextualization. That's your complexity point. It's a 7-point rubric.